Welcome to the Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below the video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Father of a Stolen Child, Neil, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Good to have you all. Any evidence of a physical, geometric sphere edge, that's a horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
It's not physical. And it changes with the weather.
They're not blocking boats and buildings then?
Well, one day it is, the next day it's not at the same area, so it can't be physical. So it's got to be optical.
Any more for any more? Pretty critical.
Well, doesn't the globe need it to be physical?
It does indeed. It needs to be blocking boats and buildings with its physical geometry, and if it's non-physical, non-geometric, it's neither, therefore not Earth curve. The horizon's not a physical sphere edge. Hey, Owen.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I hear someone in Discord say a quick hello, just to make sure it's all working okay.
There's always sphere edges
Hello, hello.
in the
Hi,
math.
George.
Well, if it's the horizon they're looking at, and they're calling that Earth curve, and it changes on a daily, if not hourly basis, then that would mean the Earth's shape is changing, and that can't be happening.
Well, if you consider that the horizon is only a sphere edge in the math, then also the statement that spheres don't have edges would be geometrically correct. It's just that if it would really be a sphere, then it would have an edge that you could look past. But since it's not really a sphere, it's only a sphere in the geometry, then the Earth does not have a sphere edge. It's
Right.
a little convoluted like that.
Yeah, correct. When we point out that we don't have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon, they say spheres don't have edges. Well, yeah, they do in your geometry. It's blocking boats and buildings. That's your sphere edge. The edge of the point that is claimed to obscure the boats and buildings, that's your edge, your Earth curve. So yeah, we used to have an Earth curve edge, but now, quote Tim Osman, nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. Other than Earth curve geometry and a sphere Earth belief and the premise that it's based on. Other than that, nobody's claiming it.
I think they're hurt that you're calling it an edge when we all know it's not an edge, but it's supposed to be Earth curve, and they can't produce Earth curve.
If they don't want to be edgy, then it's up to them, you know.
I guess you have them cornered there, Arwen.
Well, they're looking to see how closely matched a geometric horizon in orthographic view, where the side of your own head is in the shot, the target hasn't changed in feet and inches value because it's only ascribed whole numbers that exclude perspective, then they'd like to say that X, as opposed to a line across from left to right in a picture, that X marked horizon is very close to what you see in a picture. Now, in reality, an orthographic representation side-on-side profile with you in the picture, looking at a mark that says X horizon, that looks nothing like a horizon, and you haven't got that view of the horizon, or ever will have that view of the horizon, to claim that it looks like something you see in reality. Also, further to that, they tell us that that horizon, the geometric horizon, marked with an X labelled horizon, side profile, Muppet vision, does not exist. That's what they tell us.
That's a problem. Can't do a calculation for Earth curve if you can't measure it.
Right. Shout out to Ben White, who says this will take the edge off things. Very good.
So they say, like we do, that there's a horizon, but then they say we have never measured it or seen the geometric horizon. So what horizon are they looking at if it's not the same one we're looking at?
Well, they're looking at the horizon and then reifying a geometric physical sphere edge horizon that only exists in the maths into that position or very close to it. So in other words, they're taking this edge. See this guy in this depiction from National Geographic? He's looking at what they would claim, who's off mute, 10th, is an edge. This is what's supposed to be blocking your view of the boat, the edge of the sphere at the horizon. But like the orthographic maths, this representation is saying this is how you see the world, with an edge getting in the way of the boat. But no, because you're actually seeing the side of your own head if this is supposed to represent how we see things. You never see the side of your own head. And the only reason they represent it this way is so that they can keep the boat the same size as it gets further away from the viewer. So as the boat gets over the edge, you see less and less and less of the boat in angular size, but they would claim it as the Earth curve edge obstruction blocking the bottom of it, as opposed to an angular limitation due to the perspective. So they put it in orthographic view, and that's where their horizon would be marked, although this is a cartoon. Orthographic view is orthographic view, side on, looking at the side of your own head and the target. So they'd say the horizon's here, marked with an X, labelled horizon. It's like, that's not what a horizon looks like. A horizon isn't represented as a point halfway along the picture with the target on the right and you on the left. You never see the side of your own head. Hey, Adam. Hey, Adam. Oh, maybe not.
Well, then what they've done is they've carelessly given the Earth a radius value of 3959. And now the geometry holds them to where that Earth curve must be and no further than at different observer heights. So at the 1 foot observer height, it can be no further than 1.22 or 1.23 miles. So they're stuck.
Moving on. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No, because we don't live on a ball.
Any updates from our Discord correspondents on axial rotation?
Black swan. I think they're afraid of this more now than ever before because it will have to be shown through Earth-based Coriolis, and there's no way.
Can you link Coriolis to the Black Swan? But you've got to have
Axial rotation.
Yeah, if you haven't got a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon and you're claiming, I suppose you can because of they've done it recently. In fact, it was only in the last week, right? When they try and take an R value reading by way of the sunset. Well, that would imply that the Earth is turning and the sun's moving behind the sphere edge. Therefore, that claim used to derive R in that instance is a Coriolis-based claim. So you can say Black Swan. I was just thinking somebody said Black Swan in answer to any evidence of axial rotation. Can you link it? Yeah, you can. Because they're going to take the celestial objects, their movements, and try and derive R from the physical horizon that they haven't got anymore. Interesting. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No, black swan, not.
Yeah, that's true, but definitely true for the sun and its distance. That's definitely based on R. Definitely going to need to get R to derive the distance to it. Is there anything that Black Swan can't do? Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Cartoons only.
One more time, whoever that was. George?
Now we only have cartoons.
Cartoons, eh? Bummer. Any evidence of R? Yeah, Earth radius itself.
Nope. They can't measure it.
Nope.
Terrestrial refraction's in the way. They can only calculate it based on the presupposition that it is spherical.
Okay. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
What is it?
I've sent Anthony the link. Hopefully, Black Swan with gravity. Oh, that's going to take some thinking.
Oh well, no curvature, no globe, no forces to keep the waters in, or to keep the gas pressure for that matter. So, yeah, Black Swan debunked it.
Can you do me a favour,
I
George? Can you drop and rejoin? For some reason, your volume's all screwy.
I can get rid of gravity with the black swan.
Oh, epic! Go ahead.
But if you don't have a center of mass, you don't have gravity.
When they're referring to the centre of the mass of the Earth in terms of the downward vector that it would create because mass attracts to the mass of the Earth. Is that what you're saying?
Right? There's no radial value for them to say center of mass.
Ah, yes, of course. Going to be going to the
So-
centre of the Earth, then it needs a centre, and it needs an hour to get that. Interesting. Black Swan can destroy gravity as well. That's good. Hopefully we'll get Sleeping Warrior to join, because he's been, interestingly enough, I've said this, I've almost lost for words how pleased as punch I am about this scenario that's occurring currently. So back in the day, I don't know, 5 years ago or whatever, we'd be out looking at things, taking pictures of things, doing little small scale tests and showing perspective, things like that. And what would happen is a glober would come to us and say, you haven't done this correctly, you need to go away and do it again. And then you'd go and do it and then placate them that way. And then they'd say, you haven't done this right, go ahead and do it again. Give you an example. So John Savage, I think it was it John Savage? Could be John Savage, could be another John, did the gyroscope. And every time he did it, the criticism would come in and say, you haven't done it like this, you haven't done it like that, you need to do it again. And he kept on doing it over and over and over and over again and showing no drift on a mechanical gyro. So does someone want to add something?
Oh, Nathan, talking about Black Swan, by the way.
I wasn't finished, Darwin, but clearly off mute, rumpusing me and ignoring everything I'm saying. Thank you. Can you wait till after
Sorry.
I'm finished? Thanks.
I can say something, Nathan.
I just want to get to the end of my point, if that's okay with both of you.
All right.
So back in 2017, we were put to task to do things differently when we presented anything. Now the tables have turned. So Blue Marble Science has put together a Cavendish experiment. And at the same time, Anthony's mirrored his actions and done it, and is all over him like flies on the proverbial, saying he hasn't done this right, he hasn't done that right, presenting graphs based on the data that he's taken, showing his own graphs, showing the graphs that Anthony's taken of his apparatus, all of this sort of stuff, so he can say, you're not doing this right, you're not doing that right, Cavendish said this should be done, you've touched it, you've done this, you've walked in, you've walked out. He's just whipping him around. It's just absolutely brilliant, right? So the shoe's on the other foot for the Globers in 2020 and beyond. They're having to placate us when we say, nah, you're not doing that right. Now, the reason this is the main point I'm talking about this is because obviously this is debunked with gas. Gas has mass. It's not attracting. In fact, if you want to call it doing anything, it's repelling. So they're screwed at the end of this nonsense. But in the meantime, Anthony, the flat earther's whipping them around and getting them on their toes and getting them to change what they're doing and getting them annoyed, which is absolutely brilliant. Anyway, that was all I wanted to say. Arwin, go ahead then, Paul. Obviously, rumpuses me in the middle of my point, then buggers off when it's actually time for him to talk.
How things have changed. How things have changed.
Some things never change, Neil. Arwin, you wanted to interrupt me. Now he's disappeared. Paul, go ahead.
I think the only thing the Globers have on the so-called gyroscopes now is the ones we're using aren't sensitive enough to catch it. That's all the only argument they have now. That's all I was going to say.
Sorry, the gyros aren't sensitive enough for what?
Yes.
Breaking up, maybe. Sensitive enough for what? It's going to be one of those days. Paul's put himself on server mute. That's the end of that conversation.
Wow, sounds like Neil's car.
Indeed.
What do you mean? To catch the drift,
No, it's
to detect the drift. They're not sensitive enough.
What drift?
The gyroscope, right? It doesn't have. Didn't
What
it
drift?
detect Earth spin rather?
Yeah, what drift? We don't experience drift. Nothing's drifting away.
The gyroscope that Bob Nodell used to prove Earth's rotation. What are you talking about?
well, if Earth's
He
rotating,
just got a Nobel Prize for it.
a Nobel Prize, you say?
Yes.
All right. Well, if it's Earth's rotation that he found, then Earth must be rotating on the helicopters, airplanes, and everything else, right? But since that's not happening, that can't be it. It's something else. It's something within the apparatus, obviously.
Okay, it's powered flight, buddy.
No.
How?
No. Coriolis is observed from the ground. It's you observing things seem to drift, like helicopters and drones, or anything that's not on a claim to be turning reference frame. So it's you observing things drifting. Right now, that's a phenomena that does not occur. So to say, well, the gyro drifts or doesn't drift, who cares? First observe the phenomena of something drifting in nature, then go forth to explain why that happens. Now, if things aren't drifting in nature, there's nothing to study.
Yeah, well said. Very succinct, to the point. And what does powered flight have to do anyway? The observer is not on the plane. The observer is here on Earth.
Precisely. Coriolis is observed from the ground or on start one more time. Observed from the ground, providing the ground is a non-inertial spinning reference frame. So a roundabout would be you on the ground, on the roundabout, spinning around and looking at a plane in the air, looking like the plane is turning around as you turn around on the roundabout. Now, obviously, the plane isn't turning around. It just looks like it is because you're on a roundabout. Now, that's the claim that Globe Earth has. Earth is a turning roundabout. And as you look at things not on that roundabout, they drift. That's the claim from the Globe Earth. But that doesn't happen. We're not observing things drift. And we'd have to be observing them drift for there to be this effect. So when they say powered flight, no, Coriolis is observed as you turn beneath things. Nothing to do with the plane. It's not actually doing anything in terms of what you observe, because what you observe is a not actual deflection.
Yeah, and their high priest, Neil deGrasse Tyson, already said a football went through field goals because the Earth turned underneath it. And they don't like that because obviously that didn't happen. But when he said that, that destroys their powered flight crap.
Their powered flight is crap to begin with because it's an observation from the ground of things seeming to drift. So Tyson's saying the ball seems to drift because Earth turns beneath it. That's what he's claiming. It's like, well, okay, Neil deGrasse Tyson, the blimp filming the game drifts because Earth's turning beneath it. It's in the air a lot longer than a football. Oh no, it doesn't happen. So he claims nonsense. So there's nothing to study.
Yeah, I think that's the main point. It's not a natural occurring phenomena, and we don't see it ever. It's only in the math, and it's been reified.
Yeah, if it doesn't happen, we don't need to argue about it. So show me drift in nature first. And that's the way I've been most successful in terms of the argument as it progressed with Coriolis. Most recently, forget about what you say occurs in the gyro, occurs in the pendulum. I might use that as a hostile witness to hold you to your claim if you start denying it. But ultimately, what's drifting in nature? And if they say, well, I don't need it to be, well, that's what Coriolis is. Things drifting at 15 degrees an hour is the claim. So what's drifting at 15 degrees an hour? Not a man-made device, because I don't care. I want to see it in nature. Show me things drift in nature. If they don't, they don't. It's just that simple. If things don't drift in nature, then their claim that things do is debunked. It's just that simple. And instead of it being that simple, it's into arguments about Coriolis deviation, how it works, what it is, things that will defy the drift we're supposed to have in the form of planes because they've got engines when that's not an observation from the ground as we turn beneath things. So where do we see things drift? If someone's going to claim the Earth's turning, okay, what's drifting?
Well, they say the movement of the luminaries, but then if the luminaries are moving and Earth is still, that works, but they're trying to use the luminaries that are moving and reverse it and say the Earth is turning to make it appear that the luminaries. Oh, well, in that case, we should see drift. but we don't.
Exactly. That claim that the movement of the luminaries is caused by Earth turning beneath them is a claim of Coriolis, but it would manifest itself in other things and does not. Now, it's claimed that it manifests in other things like footballs, but it does not.
Bye-bye globe. Yeah, they don't have an argument. Never did.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Still waiting.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate.
And no.
According to Neil deGrasse Tyson, our cell phone, they have the space physics and stuff like that.
Yeah. And my mattress has got memory foam on it, therefore NASA exists. And
No, listen, Nathan. This is Neil deGrasse Tyson now you're talking about here. Okay?
Yeah. My wife had me over a barrel on that yesterday, so we need a new mattress. And she's ordering this mattress, and I'm like, I just want the same one as we've got before. It's lasted a long time, and it's very comfortable. It's a sprung mattress with a layer of memory foam on it. I want that. And then when she found the same brand, same mattress, she's like, oh, it's memory foam developed by NASA. That's the only reason you want it, isn't it? Because it's developed by NASA. Having a little poke.
It turns out that there's this magical speed.
Hell yeah.
Listen, you all want to sugarcoat it and baby this guy. I've been saying we got to get him in the arena for the longest time.
He won't come in this arena. Are you kidding?
I got an idea.
About as likely to devote any of his attention to us as the Pope is to devoting his attention to debating Christianity.
He told Joe Rogan that he's not ever going to debate a flat earther. I wonder why.
You want to present to me, Adam? I had you up for a second, but now it's just your icon.
It's me, Arwin, talking about the Black Swan.
Oh, sorry.
It's just a funny video that I came across. I'm gonna play it without sound because it's just commentary. I saw this and immediately thought, like, this is what happens every time ballers come over, dive in, and say they've disproven the Black Swan.
Don't play a video. It's not yours.
It's not his either. And it's
care.
without sound. This is just some random video.
Don't care, Arwen. It's not yours. Ugh. Can't just play someone else's video, Arwen. I'm sorry.
Okay, well then, suit yourself.
Well, it's not mine. It's not suiting myself. It's suiting my channel's best interest.
It's a random uploaded video that probably thousands of people have it. And use it. This guy that's using that video, it's not his either.
Don't care.
He's
not
still
mine.
advertising for it, so.
Don't care. Not mine. Not going to be using it. Sorry. I've had enough strikes from people to know better that, it's not worth the gag. Anyway, let's discuss it not on a live show at some of the better time, more appropriate. Did we do all the housekeeping questions?
Okay, well, in that case, get your own Black Swan.
Did we do gas pressure?
Hold on, 10th. Was there a point along with it, moreover, Arwin? That's the most important thing.
Go and watch it.
Was there a point to go with it? You can show it with stills, but just not play it.
There's no sound.
Ah,
It's a guy getting attacked by a black swan.
When did you last read?
That's it.
You're obviously going to do this on,
Right? If
on
you
the
can't
live show.
show that, fine. Right? You show less shit than I do on my show. By now. This is ridiculous.
Arwin, when did you last read the terms of service?
Sorry?
When did you last read the terms of service for YouTube?
Probably 4 years ago.
I read them last week. I keep well and truly abreast of the rules here, right? You don't. But you're going to tell me because it's got no sound, you'll be fine. Thanks a bunch. No, I won't. Just, if you want to make your point with it.
Guess what? My shows, every single one of my shows, has videos in it, in the intro, that I ripped randomly from YouTube on the internet, right? Just like this guy made the video, ripped random videos off the internet. Nobody's gonna strike that because it's not some personal show that is copyright. It's just people uploading random shit they film on the internet.
Okay, I'll try once
It's not
more.
going to get struck.
Yeah,
Well,
you keep
why-
making the
why
same
are you
argument,
making a big deal
Arwen.
about it, though? Who cares?
Arwen, I'll
Because
try
of
once more.
freedom.
I'll try once more. You can show it.
Okay, William Wallace.
Chocolate, hold on. You can show it, just don't play it. You can show it by scrubbing through the video and making your point, but just don't play it.
Well, that was 10 minutes of nothing.
I know.
Yeah,
I didn't want to do
gas
that at
pressure
all.
without a container. Did you do that one?
Right, did you want to make your point, Arwen? Just don't play it, scrub it.
There's barely any visuals to flick through.
It's a video.
Yeah, it's 1 minute video. It's barely good resolution anyway. So whatever, man. It was just something funny that I found. Wanted to play it. If that's too much, okay, I'm not gonna bring up any more videos then. Okay.
You can scrub through it and show the bit you want. Oh God, this is going to be a never-ending argument with you just not pressing play and scrubbing to the bit that you want to make the point with. You can play a couple of seconds.
You know, when a creature attacks somebody, you don't see that by showing still shots.
No, but you
show the action actually taking place. Otherwise, there's no point to it.
Yes,
You're
I
not gonna
appreciate
see
that.
anything.
Arwen, you're just not listening. You can play a couple of seconds that make your point, maybe even 5 seconds that make your point, but playing an entire minute-long video that isn't yours isn't fair comment. But 5 seconds, 10 seconds, yeah, that's fine. It's never going to end. You're not going to press play. You're not going to make your point. We're just going to sit with this still on all day.
Hey, no, I'm not
On a
going to
live
make my
show.
point. That's right. If you want to do it like that, the video is a masterpiece. You do that. I'm not going to do that.
I don't
It's your
care.
claim. It's your claim, Nathan.
Yeah, my claim, my video. I should play it. I should make the joke. God.
What I miss?
Owen doesn't want to play ball because I won't just let him play out a minute of video that's not mine.
You just missed a pecking order. Don't worry about it.
Pecking order, it's not. Metaphorically or otherwise.
Alwyn's in rare form today.
It's all right. Can we move off of this, please?
Yeah.
Hey, Chocolate.
Wow, you sound just like Muttley. Muttley?
Gotcha.
Muttley?
Right, is there anyone in Discord that can save us from this?
Hey, what about this? Can you guess this?
Yeah, anybody got glow proof or something?
Heavens to Murgatroyd, there's no glow proof.
Yeah, this is getting a bit boring without any globe proof on a debating show about flat Earth. You'd think someone would come along with something. It's literally nothing, though.
Well, the only part about it is round and round we go, but it's not glow proof.
But do you not remember back in the day, maybe after, I don't know, 6 months, a year of finding this out, somewhere at some point you have in the back of your mind, maybe someone will come up with something that does actually prove the notion correct. Somebody might just come up with something and go, hello, this was all just a big blag, controlled op, what do they call it, psyop, and here it is, stone cold proof that the Earth's a sphere. Now, did any of you have that moment when you think, maybe, just maybe, someone will come up with some globe proof?
That's why I ended up here. Because after I was already like, all right, definitely not a damn globe, but maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I could find somebody to help me see where I didn't carry the one or something. I don't know. So I need to hear an argument. I need to hear this go back and forth. And then I started looking for debates on it. That's how the hell I ended up here.
But it's weird how they always come in, if they come in at all, obviously without globe proof, and think they need to tell us how we haven't carried the one or something, and end up humiliating themselves.
Well, I remember that they would be coming in, ad homing, interrupting, lively debates, rumpusing, fallacies, all that happening all the time. And now it's like we've called the frontline lookouts and say, hey, don't worry, come on in, come to the base camp. No one's coming after us. So we don't have any snipers anywhere looking out for these people coming. We have nothing anymore because they're just not coming anymore. We're not under attack anymore. The camp is safe because the globe died.
No, I know how to get Neil deGrasse Tyson in here. He seems to, like, when a star starts to talk about flat Earth, he appears, right, Chocolate? You always said he just seems to appear and make everything nice. So we make Chocolate saying a star because he's a rapper. And then Neil deGrasse will have to come and see him to set it straight.
No, you've got
and
a
then
point.
we got him.
No, you've got a point. You've got a point, right? I think you're kind of saying two things there, Neil. You're saying, one, well, our target is now, the bar's been raised, right? We've cleared out the trenches, haven't we?
Correct.
So
We're at the general's door.
metaphorically, you're right. But what happens next? Well, then you take over the country that you've invaded.
It's like the movie, The Dirty Dozen. They go and infiltrate the camp.
Right, but we've wiped out the entire battleground. So, what's next? You move forward, right? Now, that's not to say that there aren't other fronts where battles are still taking place. That's not to say that there aren't other places where they haven't got the weaponry that we've got to have such widespread success to the point where there's no soldiers left to kill.
The Walking Dead. Rumpus is part of the Walking Dead. They're the new zombie type soldiers that don't die. They just come at you. But the Night of the Living Dead Walking Dead, the slow moving ones that you could just pop them in the head and they go down.
Yeah, but that's the metaphorical equivalent of the spawning in a video game, right? So let's say there's two teams in this regard in this particular server by comparison, because we're not going to say it's like real war, but let's say it's a video game, and that's all these trolls are, right? Nameless, faceless trolls in a video game. That's all this is to them. Now, don't get me wrong, they get killed, they get teabagged, and then they just respawn and come back. But that isn't to say that in this particular server, one team keeps winning. Now, because of that, in this server, they don't want to come in the server because they'll never win. That's the way it literally is working, metaphorically and literally.
Yeah, but Rumpus comes on and says 99.99% of the time he's never been wrong. He doesn't even know he's dead.
Go on, Don, or whoever that was.
Okay, so I got say there's two planes flying at the same speed, right? Right. If one is at 15,000 feet and one is at 30,000 feet, and if they're flying around a sphere, which one will get to the destination first?
So you're demanding we beg the question that we're on a sphere to make this comparison to see which one will get first. Well, the higher one's got a greater circumference to traverse because of its increased radial value at a greater altitude on a presupposed spherical Earth. So by your comparison on a presupposed spherical Earth, the one at a lower altitude is going to have a shorter distance to travel.
Oh, wow, a flat earther can be honest with me. That wasn't hard, was it?
Sorry, what part of presupposed spherical Earth didn't you hear?
I heard you clear, but the Globers wouldn't answer me.
Check it out. Synthetic News Network, who did an interview with me. Shout out to you, my friend. He's just joined as a member. Thank you very much indeed.
What's the point of that question, though, even as a flat earther to a baller?
To beg the question. The only reason for that question isn't to actually get a reasonable answer to the justifiable increased distance that a higher altitude flight takes. The only purpose in a question like that is to get you to beg the question. That's it. If you're on a presupposed spherical Earth, why does blah 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 blah? The rest doesn't matter.
Unless you form a modus tollens.
Well, when they insist on begging the question and we point out that they're begging the question, then say it's okay to beg the question because we're begging the question, then you've got to beg the question with them and show them how begging the question doesn't work in any way, shape or form by ruining it from within the begging the question fallacy. Shout out to Silent Zero, who's also just become a penguin. Thank you very much. Getting lots of members today. Good people too. people who've got things that are good to say in the chat. So when it's members only, there'll be good conversation. As Synthetic News Network and Silent Zero have both got good things to say. So look forward to seeing what you've got to say in the sidelines, so to speak.
Well, that's my point, Nathan. The modus tollens worked wonderfully with the black swan and the radius value. So why can't we do modus tollens for everything?
You can.
Yeah. So instead of begging the question, you offer it in the way the modus tollens says, oh, so you're saying this. Well, if it's this, then the P, then Q, blah, 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 just like the way modus tollens does it.
Yeah, it's just a bit weak. If the Earth's sphere radius 3959, then flights at a higher altitude of an increased radius value and would take a longer distance. Flights do not take an increased distance over a greater presupposed radius value at a higher altitude. Therefore, the Earth is not a sphere. It's just a bit weak. You can turn it into modus tollens. The reason the black swan is so powerful is because the Q statement takes the supposition, and the Q statement is directly translatable to their claim. That's why it's so powerful. So the Earth's sphere radius 3959, yeah, you can start any modus tollens and then take their example like I just did with increased radius values and altitude. But when you say the distance to Earth curve is, I might start asking QE to rephrase it. So it's the distance to the geometric horizon in modus tollens, right? But that is Earth curve. So if every distance to Earth curve can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, yeah? Why have it to the geometric horizon? Their horizon is Earth curve.
Yeah, and also the strong point of modus tollens is geometry, and they're bound to it, and they're going to come off, for lack of a better example, they're going to come off saying 2 and 2 is 64 instead of 4. That's how they look when they fight it.
Yeah, exactly. They're saying Earth curve or the Earth's a sphere because geometry. That's what their claim is. So if Earth curve because of geometry, why do we not now have to assert if Earth a sphere, then geometric horizon? Why not if Earth's a sphere, then Earth curve? No Earth curve, therefore Earth not a sphere. I think modus tollens is going to get polish by me.
Yeah, because they're like the word synonymous. Earth curve is the horizon for them.
Yeah. Why barter about whether or not spheres have edges when they're claiming it blocks boats and buildings, when we're talking in these terms with words like it? It's blocking boats and buildings? The geometry is blocking boats and buildings? The sphere edge?
It all starts at the horizon.
Yeah. What starts at the horizon? Earth curve starts at the horizon.
Yes.
Right. The horizon's not Earth curve. We can make the succinct nature of this as succinct as we wish. The horizon is not Earth curve. That's the black swan modus tollens argument summed up in a sentence. So let's start calling it like it is. If the Earth's a sphere, radius 3959, then every distance to Earth curve can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. And the black swan shows that Earth curve is beyond the geometric limitations of sphere-Earth geometry. Therefore, the Earth is not a sphere. That's my spit and polish contribution to the black swan argument.
No, I like it because
Yes,
when
you
you
should
look up
do it like that all the time.
when you look up sphere in geometry and they show you pictures of it, it says, in fact, let me find one. I'll be right back. This is really good.
We all liking this? The black
Yeah,
swan.
I think you should do the modus tollens like that all the time instead of that. Say Earth curves instead of horizon. Every distance to Earth curves, not horizon.
Yeah. Say it like it is, right? It's been over a year. We know what we're talking about when we refer to the black swan. We're talking about Earth curve geometry. That's the context, though, not the argument. The argument's Earth curve. So let's take the context out of the statement and put the argument back in. So the argument's Earth's a sphere with Earth curve. And what's Earth curve? Contextually, it's Earth curve geometry. But we don't need to contextualize that. Why go out of our way? If the Earth's a sphere, radius 3959, then every distance to Earth curve can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. And the black swan shows beyond all certitude that the distance to Earth curve is beyond the geometric limitations of a sphere Earth. Therefore, the Earth's not a sphere.
Nathan, go to Master B, if you would.
Yeah, it's on.
All right, so as you can see here, you got a sphere compared to a cube. The cube has 12 edges, 8 corners, 6 square faces. The sphere has 1 curved face, no edges, no corners. Oops. Sextant can't work on the sphere.
Here's something I was just thinking of. I'm whenever you're ready, 10th man, I'll stop.
Go ahead.
You know, there's just been argument about plumb bobs, right? And it's supposed to show your plumb, which is determining level. But we do have a thing in our inner ear that just kind of does that same thing, right? That keeps you so you can look straight and feel level, so you have your balance and all that fun stuff. Now, on a globe, it should start dropping away from you immediately on your feet, no matter where you're at on it. Now, that being said, then the horizon should technically never rise to eye level, even if you're observing it. But we always seem to see the horizon rising to eye level. Why is that? And we've got a built-in plumb bob, so we kind of know what we have an idea what level is when we're looking out across something.
Right. Well, that's because that's the way their geometry's figured in terms of how they lay it out to give themselves a sphere edge. So when we say
I know
sphere edge, this is you can't see it, Paul. I've just brought up the diagram of Al-Biruni's measurement to the sphere edge horizon. So we're talking about a geometric edge in terms of the obstruction caused by the tangent point with a straight line drawn to it. That is the edge of your visibility. In other words, beyond that edge of the sphere, you cannot see what's beyond it. Now that requires you to be angled down from the mountain towards the dip angle that they're claiming. Now you're saying the horizon rises with eye level. Well, yeah, it's a rubber ruler. It might be up higher on one day than lower on the other, but they can still use that optical effect to their advantage and claim there's a dip angle to a physical sphere edge that's blocking your view of things in the distance, i.e. boats and buildings. That's the edge we're talking about when talking in their geometric terms. When you're seeing the side of your own head, Al-Biruni would be at A, and you're looking at his position. You're not looking out through his eyes at the horizon. Earth curve, in this claim, you're looking at a side-on profile view that's called orthographic. We fondly call it Muppet vision, because you're seeing the side of your own head.
Well, if you got the one up, I can't see obviously because I'm in Discord, but where you kind of the observers to the left and the horizon is kind of in the middle and their objects is to the right. Is that the one that you're talking about?
It might as well be. It's actually Al-Biruni, so it's Al-Biruni up a mountain on the right, Muppet vision to the horizon in the middle, and then what would be the hidden in their geometric calculators to the left. But yes, it is the same thing. It's an orthographic representation. Well, how they claim what we have as Earth curve at sea.
I know, but no matter what you do, though, the horizon starts to drop away immediately, correct, from the observer? It's not like it's a gradual drop.
No.
It's just immediate movement outward.
Not the horizon. Did you just misspeak? The ground, according to this diagram, at its position A up the mountain, regardless if it was B on the ground, the line you're describing on a sphere Earth falls away from you immediately towards C, the tangent point sphere edge horizon that they claim in this geometry. But what you're saying is the ground immediately falls away.
Right. I mean, but I'm saying as an observer, though, it should start dropping away immediately from even my own observation, even with any kind of measurement. That was my point. If it's a sphere, there should be an immediate drop away, even in my observation. If not, when I'm looking at the horizon, I'm technically looking slightly downward. They would have to say, no matter where I'm at on the globe, no matter when I observe it, I have to be looking slightly downward, always.
And they do.
Because
That's
it's only
exactly what.
at
But they do
horizon.
claim that. They do claim that.
Well, my own pendulum, or not pendulum, but my plumb bob in my own head indicates that I'm not.
No, and if you aren't, they can depict it slightly differently in Muppet Vision. So I got this confused with the chord last time I was in the middle of a debate, but they can draw the sagittal with you essentially tilting back. So if I was to turn this picture on screen through, 45, 50 degrees, I'd end up with the line between A and C about flat. And then the depiction would effectively have you tipping backwards to look straight and level. Yeah, that's what they do, though. They can draw it out of the light because you're not actually experiencing this view. You're looking at the side of your own head. So looking at the side of your own head with it claimed to be you looking out straight and level but tipping back on your heels, or as you're originally described, you looking out straight and level but the ground falling away from you immediately. It just depends on how they depict it in the geometry. Not hearing much from Adam. This is normally where he pipes up, but maybe he's busy.
Yeah, I get what you guys are saying. It's just I was just trying to think it through using your own plumb bob in your head, because technically, like if you just move your head slightly downward, you're aware of that movement. That even if it's just very slight, you're aware of that. You close your eyes and move your head slightly downward. Even though you're doing it, you can still feel that there's an orientation difference.
Yeah, that's correct. But what you're describing when you bring the plumb bob in is a zenith position when referenced to a datum. So if you're on a presupposed spherical Earth and you drop a plumb bob at any position, it's going to go straight down. But what they'll say is, well, in reference to your datum, if you're here in the UK, for example, well, you're pointing out that plumb bob based on the zenith going to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. If you draw Earth with the North Pole on the top, then we're approximately jutting out at 40 degrees or something like that. I don't know where we are on the line. I should know, really. But anyway, the point is that we're not having that plumb bob then go straight down, because that zenith to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth is effectively what your plumb bob would be when you drop it from your position in reality. But that would be to suggest that when referencing Earth with North and South poles, you've got a plumb bob that points at 40 degrees towards the centre, and it doesn't. Well, they say, well, no, it's because you're always on the top. Go on, Paul.
Right, I get you. Yeah, I get you. I'm actually kind of distracted. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask, so I'll leave it there. But I think you're right. I got you.
I got some more slides in Master B, Nathan. Just
okay, ready when you are.
So you got the one that says a sphere with the yellow background.
Yep.
Okay, has one face, no edges, no vertices. The next one, the sphere has 0 vertices and 0 edges and 0 faces. Like a square would be a face, like but this would have a surface but not a face. The next one, 3D shapes, cube all the way down to triangular. Look at the one that's got 0, 0, 0. It's the sphere. 0 faces, 0 edges, 0 vertices. This is why it's important to understand how the sextant works. You can't have a sextant work without a corner, a vertex. And since the horizon is your baseline, and your luminary that you sight the sextant with creates your second line, they meet at where you are. That creates the corner. But you can't have that happen if the surface of the Earth is curving. So the horizon has to be optical and you live on a plane, because you can't sight something 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 miles away, even further, if it's curving away from you, and get the right angle.
So where do they get an edge from? Well, they get it by a presupposed spherical Earth, in this case sphere, with no edges, no faces, no vertices. Then you draw a line called a zenith. to the center of the presupposed spherical Earth at a given fixed value, r. Then you can draw out a tangent plane, still having the assumption of a sphere beneath your feet, giving you a predetermined line to work with, r. And from that, you can justify its existence by saying it matches up with a dip angle horizon, and that dip angle horizon will give you the tangent plane and the angle you require to then actually use the sextant on a sphere with no edges, faces, or vertices.
What they do is with a circle, a sphere, they do it with a central angle. So that would be your radius. So let's use the one they give us for the Earth, 3959. So then if you're doing the measurement from the center, you can have your zenith and your sighting of your star have two separate straight lines meeting to the center. It only works from the center because it's geometry, and a diameter would be all the way through. A radius is from the center to one of the sides of the curved surface. Not sides, but wherever it meets the top of the ball. So it can't work from the surface of the Earth, but the sextant is being used from the surface of the Earth, and the surface of the Earth in their model is curved. So it's a trick here, because they're saying, well, we're actually measuring from the center. Well, you're not measuring from the center. You're measuring from a sailboat 9 feet above the water. And then they have to have light coming in parallel in order for it to work anyway. And light doesn't come in parallel, as Rumpus told us. It comes in funny angles, just like we see. It's all divergent rays. So they got so many problems with this when you break it down. So all they're using is a central angle from a radius of a two-dimensional drawing called a circle.
Correct. So
Because there's no way.
Exactly. To do any of these measurements, you need angles. And you haven't got any if you haven't got any flat surfaces or edges. So where do you engineer an edge on a presupposed spherical Earth? You need an edge to do the measurements. Well, you can turn the horizon into it if you derive it from r. And what you need to get it is a fixed value of r. You can't derive any geometry from a sphere that actually works in practical application unless they already have the sphere and they need r in the first instance. And they can't get it if none of what they actually claim to be measuring is measurable or visible or exists. And it doesn't. It wouldn't exist anyway if we had a sphere beneath our feet, because they physically do. In reality, you can't. That's why we're looking at what we're looking at in terms of when we describe Earth as a sphere. We're looking at a non-existent geographic representation in side view. So you can hijack things and create angles where you don't have any. In other words, if this C point was England, you'd say, well, when I drop a plumb line, it's not going to go straight down from top to bottom. It's actually going to point at an angle to the R value that I'm going to derive to get my tangent plane. Because I'm going to be working with a flat surface and I need angles. So therefore I'm going to need the world to be exactly as it is. But if I'm standing on a presupposed spherical Earth, and I'm going to justify having these angles, which I could just get from the flat plane we're standing on, then I need an R value. Doesn't matter that I can't derive it if everything that's moving around like the horizon is the point that I'm going to use to get it. But I'll claim it and match it up on a certain day when the geometry does match the physical optical representation of a rubber ruler horizon that isn't physical. But I'll say it is, and it'll give me an angle, and from there I can make tangent planes and assumptions of derivations of R no matter where I am on a sphere, without any angles, surfaces, or edges.
I got 2 slides for you. Let me know when you got it.
Yeah, what is an
Can
angle?
you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is an angle? An angle is formed when 2 rays originate from the same end point. The 2 rays formed an angle are called arms or sides of the angle, and the end point is called the vertex of the angle. Next slide. An angle is denoted by the symbol. You see the symbol there. Here, the rays OP and OQ from an angle denoted by POQ or QOP. That has to happen on the surface of the Earth for the sextant to work, and you need a straight line However, on a two-dimensional surface of a circle, you can do this from the radius because they meet at the radius. But that's not where you measure.
Perfect. I mean, this is literally just sharpening tools, isn't it?
Yeah, and you've done it for a while. You've said there, and even Osmond came on. You know, we've never claimed the horizon to be Earth curve while he shows pictures of it and claiming his own pictures.
Yeah. But it's nice to have a more refined tool.
You still don't know what looming is, Nathan?
Say again, Neil?
I see you still don't know what looming is. That's what Rumpus is.
Looming is not based on an R refraction that can't be derived if the horizon moves. So their version of what they call looming is part of a bait and switch ploy. So they're going to say words like looming that are describing atmospheric effects, but they're going to then, at some stage, do the old bait and switch aroo and swap it out for an R-based 7/6R or whatever derivative in value they're going to apply to not only the targets, but also the horizon, meaning they can't get the R value in the first instance to apply this claim to be looming actually a bait and switch 7/6R or derivative of terrestrial refraction. So when they say looming, they won't be using looming, which is just an optical effect. They'll be using an R-based refraction, terrestrial refraction.
So basically, it's an R-based looming.
Looming is looming. R-based refraction is terrestrial refraction. They just bait and switch you with it because they've both got the word refraction in there.
Right, so they're back to begging the question that we live on a sphere and this is how it would be, and they use the 7/6R to explain looming when it's not at all what we're talking about.
Right, but they're using looming to move anything that's not in a position where it would be on a sphere into a position that they can arbitrarily assign with a fixed value of R. And their fixed value of R gives them a Earth curve. And if Earth curve isn't at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and we can't see it, it doesn't exist, then Earth curve doesn't exist. End of argument.
So basically, they're using an optical situation and trying to reify that with their globe.
Yeah. When we were debating the Isle of Man, I remember running my mouse along the horizon and asking Rumpus what it was. And he went very quiet, and at the time I didn't know why. Now I know why. Because in debate, the horizon is Earth curve, and that's very damaging. In open discussion and general public worldview, their argument starts with the horizon. It's right there, right out in plain view. They think the horizon's Earth curve. Well, it isn't.
Well, it's given up in the language when they say things go over the horizon.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. They've got boats falling over a sphere edge. Why is the horizon a sphere edge? Well, because spheres don't have edges and they need to get one to do geometry. So the horizon's it. That's where they acquire an edge to do geometry. And it isn't. It moves with the weather. The horizon isn't a sphere edge. Earth curve doesn't exist. Good conclusion to the live show.
Well, once upon a time.
Go on.
Once upon a time, there was like 3 years back, 2 years back, the looming was with respect to the geometric horizon.
Yeah, that's correct.
In my mind.
Yeah, I've got a quote from Rumpus. You know it's looming because of its position with respect to the horizon. End quote. The Rumpus. Because the horizon is Earth curve. And they say, well, you know it's moved higher, i.e. you're just seeing what you can see that day, but they say it's too far because it should be blocked by Earth curve. But no, it's looming. And how do you know? Well, because of its position with respect to the horizon. Well, the horizon, oh, that too is looming. Well, if that's looming, then Earth curve is looming. So you've got looming Earth curve then. No, doesn't work, does it? Becomes paradoxical.
Yep. Yep, that's what did me in.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you watching, smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Also, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, link in the info box below the video. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next one.
What a day! What a lovely day!